Okay, abusia eba be breaking wa ha. Edimamo eye minority file a motion to a speaker of parliament say HSA stopping the vetting of a Baffoe Bonnie as chief justice. Abusia asemno ekoko pie speaker of parliament and speaker Bagbin abusia wabo sa omo application na to egu asisi anu Acting Chief Justice Paul Baffoe Bonnie Sisiano, Speaker Bagbin, Eddie Bibi Atutu Akroma Sisiano, Yebabe approved as Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. Mommy and corner, young Konkoti and Simbia Court. Unsubscribe, subscribe, like, and share. My Afro so answer into me and Kabia. Ghana Politics Avenue. So and don't forget to click on the notification bell. So never any update be a better piano. Once a bit to me, Akabi, Madam Ase.
Shana, what's here for? Let me start with the CJ one minority seeking legal way relief and as some injunction be against we I think this particular issue much I do about nothing because you say you follow the processes leading to the removal of Chief Justice former Tokono Edia Bedru. It's not as if it just happened in a vacuum. This is idea taking a center stage, a national conversation. Emma Ubia can be the woman at some point in time had her own dissatisfaction. Emma Nisiki various legal saying ways how better media stopping the process, or call court no bon 72 guya or sanko be court no bon 72 guya. The committee sat down in accordance with the provisions of Article 146 as espoused in the law. Emma committee no babontin in the Juma babontin. My president said yes, oh yeah, Emma nakwa. So in all this process, a certain constitutional process was activated, and the same constitutional process was followed through. And we listened to a lot of argument from other side that came up. One very popular has to do with the friend saying Ghana Bar Association. Raise a whole lot of reservations around the process. But me not here as legal people, people who assume that can't sama you raise issues of law. And some now is grounded somewhere. What reasonable grounds to justify say indeed the process na you see na end and I said something go wrong. But they could not pinpoint a single legal infraction cause so far as that particular process not happen here. And at the end of the day, the omuye eni nyina nkwa nkosi aga ena maame na nkasa so no court my court said the mercy kana born nsem to guye enti ya ba bedru a point that we can all appreciate say the process na go through was legally lawful, constitutionally lawful until anybody and I say any court of competent jurisdiction decide otherwise. So if this is the premise that we have, then the president is also mandated to nominate somebody as a chief justice in her place. And that is exactly what the president has done. And you see, Obia Betimiako court.
So the president hasn't heard?
No. There's a legal argument. Nobody has been able to pinpoint exact constitutional infraction that has occasioned that far. So far as the start of the process. Ningina argument in a emotions. Oh, in the future, you see, in the room where people talk law, emotions don't have place. We are talking about premise your argument on a legal infraction and answer some contravention of the provisions that happen. Former Chief Justice Bekabi, she was just singing emotional hymns. She couldn't pinpoint exact constitutional infraction or occasion. So we are entitled to say obachira na Nemana president I lawful and it is within the remit of the constitution, then he is also entitled to appoint another person. Constitution, you will go through the same constitutional process, not parliament, validating, because that is what the law says. So, be our reservation about it. Yes, you can go to court and seek injunction to stop the process, but you cannot tell the speaker to stop the process because the speaker doesn't have the power to say or stop a constitutional process. A constitutional process, any idea of stop an injunction from a court of competent jurisdiction. So the question is, Afenyo Markin in the group, have they been given that injunction? Has a court of competent jurisdiction I will say the process has been injuncted. Because
I'm afraid not.
No court has. So you cannot just go and tell the speaker, say, stop the process. So speaker stopping the process, another person can sue him.
Yes.
For say one neglecting the duty because he's supposed to. Because answer na beti imagine so I can say injunted the process. It means you have legitimate grounds. And then the Supreme Court has also proven sufficiently to us say answer na beti stop a constitutional process in motion, you need to have reasonable grounds, justifiable and grounded in law. And Obakaya, Abra NDC and 6 other political parties, SU Electoral Commission, when your friend is saying, Abra na omoye registration or district centers, no Okaya. Now almost one Electoral Commission be lower registration to just district centers. NDC and other people apply for way. That particular one, Electoral Commission went ahead and a year the other year. A court, the issue was already moved, so it became irrelevant. Then another important thing has to do with the passing of the e-levy. The president was say once it has been approved in Parliament and president has assented, it's a constitutional process that is in motion. So court injunction or whatever, they are doing it. If you have an issue with it, you can go to court and nullify the whole process. So the speaker can go ahead and make sure that the man goes through vetting. So, and you can go to court. Court, that's all legitimate grounds. The court has power to nullify the entire vetting process.
Okay.
What I say. That is why a court, say some of these competent, lawful constitutional requirements are injuncted on Parliament to exercise. No, administrative. Or minor. The court will not stop it because somebody says I should stop it.
Okay.
You need to have reasonable grounds. I will prove beyond every reasonable doubt to say. So omu go ahead. Na say Baffoe Bonnie, you prove na the injury that will happen to Ebia wa we seek, becomes irreparable, and there is nothing that we can do. It is only on that grounds and a court in Majinaka said then stop the process. Let's finish first. But besides, I say you prove Baffoe Bonnie. Na say obeye speak obey Chief Justice injury bang at a occasion because he's also serving a role which is administrative, constitutionally mandated. He's supposed to do that. So you weigh the wishes and the demands of the Constitution as against the wishes and allegations being made by an individual.
Okay.
Court process, the allegation has not yet been validated by a court. So you cannot use that mere allegation or claims to injunct a constitutional process. Okay. That is why very often when President Akuffo Addo LGBT bill no command say own sign or say own sign because our court. I sat here and I told you the president was only playing games. No court and I said no injunction can stop the president from exercising his executive duties or exercising na say who free say the exercise go beyond the remit of the law, then you can use court to nullify it. Right. What I say. Okay. So that is the whole thing. Afenyo Markin and his people, they know this, but for them it's just cheap politics because the Chief Justice in the name of Ghana for and so Ghana for and I say committee no tenance examine all the processes in as for. Yes, she's dissatisfied with me can be but some now all can say dissatisfied is it grounded in law and I say is it the absolute position that we must hold and stop a constitutional process? No reasonable judge will sit in the court and say, "Oh, I am stopping the vetting of your friend saying." And as I say, you inaugurated president. Now we be say, president ni amfa kwan papa so na ye ntini stop it. Obeka election petition. The MPP through their petition wanted to stop the your friend saying the inauguration of President Mahama because almost say issue no court. Until say court in the issue now Mahama should not be inaugurated. Okay, as my court no can. The country cannot go a day without a president. You create a constitutional crisis. Assembly Wakano has not yet been validated. So because of Ukleva we make we cannot stop a constitutional process. An institution clothed with power, the electoral commission, I declare the on a president. Until you prove otherwise, let the person be his president.
And if you have any problem, go to court.
Go to court. And if the court is able to prove beyond every reasonable doubt that indeed the process premised on something wrong, then the court will render the process invalid. No. What I say? Because I will negotiate a contract on the premise of fraud. The element of fraud beneath it vitiates everything. What I say? To sanity, they can go ahead and your friend is saying omo emvetino man me your friend says CJ now so obi our issues with the process and the tokono issues now you can go to court, and if the court rule for you then you take your ruling to go and nullify or vitiate the entire process. That remedy is there. So I don't see why Afenyo Markin, you see, it's just unnecessary politicking or more here. And I'm worried because if you look at the state MPP women in parliament at this time, you would expect that they will use their number to do something sensible, not this kind of near multi-parliament or more, because they know very well, sir, Chief Justice na you know, the process was absolute, the process was followed through. There has been no contravention, nothing. That is why even Ghana Bar Association, as a law, your friend say agency bar could not even raise any issue of law, argument of law, infractions. But they were rather singing emotions. Then as a phenomenon, you see, we must begin to tell people, I will put you in position of honor, say. You own everything to the people of this country. So when you are serving them, serve them with due diligence. So I know the day, no, baby ba Ghana for and a can be amount. Now I don't know why you know impugn public, both in everything. I know the day issue, but that's a particular constitutional process has been activated, and you go through and you don't survive it. I know the day you don't blame anybody. And after all, she's not the only person I'll go through. And I'm shocked why MPP is still pursuing this particular matter. Do you know why? Because the whole show now, the whole show, no, sometimes you begin even to doubt the competence of the former Chief Justice. The whole process, you know.
Doubt.
Yes, you doubt the competence because, and this whole thing makes the whole thing quite a bit funny. For instance, if you go to the Constitution, it is clearly espoused in unambiguous terms, very clear. Your friend say the process na yadi Article 146 process must be held in camera. That is an absolute position of the law. There is nothing anybody can do about it unless the Constitution is amended. Then the Chief Justice goes to court and says, court, waive that particular thing and let me have mine on TV. Aren't you worried? Because for her to even conceive that notion, quite problematic. You see, Ghana for issues.
Because the law is the law.
The law is the law.
And she knows the law.
And this provision in your act is springing on us.
And the law must be applied always.
Exactly. It has a constitutional foundation. So you don't even raise that argument to say, Mama media TV. So because judge now will be no, he doesn't have power to do that. That is why Justice Amadou Tanko in his ruling made it quite clear, say, you are asking us to do the impossible. Because we as a court, we don't have the power to vary a constitutional provision because it is absolute. Where there is some sort of a lack of clarity on a provision, that is where the judge is enjoined to put interpretation on the clause. But this one, your case must be held in camera. Do you need interpretation?
No.
You don't need any interpretation on it. So a whole Chief Justice to make argument to say, you know TVs, don't do anti-war.
Article 1468,
Exactly.
Yes, all proceedings under this article shall be held in camera.
Okay.
And the justice or chairman against whom the petition is made is entitled to be heard in his defense by himself or by a lawyer or anyone of his choice.
Good. So, Addo and your act and your CI, it's a constitutional provision. The foundation, is in the Constitution. So, why would the Chief Justice ask you need the OTV? So, then when you're that particular young granting that relief, then she goes on TV and the content of the petition, she takes it on TV and read to people everything. Don't you think they were breachy? So, now no make catch say process na ye Chief Justice Addo. Say even say a copy say odi bema. Adeno another grounds of incompetence, another person made me submit a petition for her removal.
Yeah.
Because you breach the Constitution in the process of seeking this relief. You breach the, so at the end of the day, your competence, even you bring it to question. So because as a Chief Justice, we are grounded in law, we know why these are basic errors that you should not do. You understand? So for me, I think say politics na say seriousness if you na say operate with due diligence, your conscience. I'm not sure say anybody on the side of the MPP will be following this woman anymore because I said me by the pardon was saying and what is say don't forget Chief Justice a member of Judges Association in this country.
Yeah.
But what's your monk baby? what be why? Because the mother association is the judges association. What is our Makasada? So Ghana Bar Association, ebe mouthpiece no more woman. On one kasa the Kuba time or the judges and Ankasa are quiet, observing the process, and nobody has raised anyway. Now what in China also be there? It's up to you.
Anti Anka say anamoa omampeni etuno. Senka enfambremwa.
Yes.
Anka Judges Association of Ghana.
Yes.
Anka omaba mountain.
Obviously somebody would have. Because on winning panel no say omu tua dis onu so tua bi.
So
yes, and omo so na no dey na me catch am for say you can emra. We a lawyer, you don't interpret laws. We a lawyer, you are just trained to have a refined understanding of the law. But it is not in your place to interpret a constitution. So sometimes you see people on TV and a cross way or church you opinion what they so. A judge is the only person that is your friend is engendered with the power to put interpretation on the court.
Law.
We are judge, we are lawyer, the can be our adventure. That is why election petitioner, Chachuchi Kata of all people to be solid and so make all the argument we are not judging about Twagu. They are not because they say the law is at the bosom of the judge. The interpret as a lawyer, you
don't have the discretion.
No. Yours is to you see. Have a refined understanding
of the law.
Okay, judge, it make sense to the judge or to me, I do position to but you don't interpret laws. What I say, and we don't interpret laws. But you were trained to understand the law, and then they are not putting interpretation, which is the Judges Association. You think if something has gone contrary and come your man. What I say. So for me, this whole thing is politics. You understand? My man and Kasa crack or tenancy or mess it up because this short period, petition call or committee there has been a catalog of incompetence and what display for me I think there are grounds for another removal. So this particular issue there is no issue. Oh no. Baffoe should go and meet Parliament, go through the vetting. I know the Parliament Genutuma Uncle the Chief Justice, but Tokono dear she's a goner and on him that she can fight and for baby because as long as she has not been able to prove exactly what occasion that are wrong within the remit of the law, no dear. The other can be an emotional expression of whatever and or express it. And for me, Afenyo Markin and Co, that is what they do. For them, politics is about being destructive, becoming a saboteur, stopping the process, and then as forth. On one said this particular thing. The Akroma na your friend say e-levy. Look at the kind of pressure some of us mounted on Parliament to say, don't go ahead and do it. Okujato and is it one other minister? Is it Haruna Idris or one other person? Took the issue to court. The court sat aloof. You understand? By another, you want a court to your friends, a Parliament, master of its own proceedings. Our court, to be directed by a court to stop the proceeding. So Speaker, yes, and I'm not sure she's going to heed to those nonsense. No. Baffoe, the Chief Justice, because what we are looking at, say. Your judicial system no nice once again because you know the kind of issues Ghanaians had about the institution called the judiciary. It became so dirty to the sense that they got them trust, confidence, so we take it upon ourselves that there is the need for us to revive the competence and the credibility of the judiciary. And that is exactly what the president is seeking to do. And a lot of people have been brought on the fold. Because in the past year, we pushing some individuals into the place. People with known partisan ties were even pushed to become Supreme Court judges against the sensibility of the people. Because people are watching. Everybody in this country is politically sensitive. And the I contested on the ticket of NDC pen. Recently, I see in the past, it doesn't matter. But then people have become politically conscious. You're forced to Supreme Court Georgia. You may have all the knowledge in the world. You can say, I will be fair. But will people trust you?
No.
But in a governance architecture, what people don't get is not about just competence. It is about the trust and confidence we, the citizens, repose in the institution. Because at the end of the day, it is our trust and confidence that will make or that will guarantee your survival. It's not about police. If you go to any democratic state and you think police need soldier for and the bomb mine ho ban am say bibi how kakra because a trust and confidence are nipa or more mine every post and a massa ade ni gina. And we must always do everything to ensure that we guarantee public trust and confidence. And that's exactly what is happening. So we need to save the judiciary by making sure that Emma Ghana for any trust and confidence. And then we've out and within element of a portray incompetence and must be flushed out. Sabaya Ghana for will be clear on their mind. Say, I have an institution impartial, very neutral, very independent. I can rely on the judiciary. We live in a country where a man for professor obebu dua dance obeko court. Uno binya asema obefra ntwanya mabo dua na instead of obeko court because the court process and people don't trust it. In recent time we call social media. Look at the way the judiciary was being subjected to some sort of ridicule, public mortification. Unanimous this, ruling bad. They were predictable. People were even suggesting, say, "Ubetim the judiciary na kucha bet and for them." This mockery, people might think it's just opinion. No, aggregation of it reflected the trust and confidence public have in the institution. Yes. So we are serious as a president. You take earnest measures to resolve it, just to build public confidence. Mahama Mokomani. She's the same woman who took pen and paper and wrote a list of people, say, President, appoint these people as Supreme Court judges. Isn't it a mark of incompetence? Because as a Chief Justice, you know the process. A judge of the Superior Court of Judicature, you know the process. And now, as a Chief Justice, now paper throw among 14, you circumvent all the processes, the consultative processes now you're involved now. You circumvent everything. Take a list and send it to the president and say, "Oh, appoint a man for." You are advertising nothing but incompetence. You are telling people that you are not fit for purpose. You can occupy that particular role, and there are enough grounds for you to be removed because these are sensitive positions. Because these are people who are clothed with the power to take away your liberty, your freedom. Adia nipa dasani is very important to every human being who has so your liberty, your freedom. So once it is curtailed, everything has been taken away. So the person clothed with the power to take those things away from you, that person must exercise discretion. That is absolute, that is powerful, and that must appear neutral. You understand? So I think going forward, these are some of the things that we must be guided. There be a Roberto as guide and Nibia will serve in whichever capacity, bear in mind. Say your allegiance is to the people of this country, your service is to the people, isn't to anybody who appointed you, the puppet, whoever who gave you power. Obana we wajin say ube yusu wo to serve that particular person. Trust me. When in Begwasi. And that's exactly the unfortunate situation that the Chief Justice found herself in. It's quite unfortunate, but it is what it is. Like she said, the law is the law, and that is the law, and nothing can be done about it. She's a goner. She must accept her fate and go. After all, Chief Justice Nenya Busunya Kumyao. And Yasa Kumya, and I can say Nana Kumya near Ubiba no Biakona Rollins Kora. So, Pardon Kroma. Oh, until Chief Justice will not be the yes, Nipana would do almost one pelt. What is your problem? Just go. I keep telling people that never be comfortable at a place you are not needed. That's my basic principle. The people say they don't need you. So what is this fight for? You go and apply another trade. Chief Justice. You can go and be relevant in other fields as well. But Chief Justice in the Nema why and I think they were we and there is nothing that will bring her back.
I see. Auntie, Afenyo Markin, more Konya and more Mutuin and Enkusiak.
Oh, I said Afenyo Markin has been a beneficiary of Tokonos. Your friend is saying some of the bad discretion exercise here for the first time on the Parliament issue. Look at the lightning speed with which the Chief Justice set a date for that particular proceedings. The following day, so Okusiano or Demo Okusiano, anybody also not ya Parliament with the whole thing. Okay. But Samreno, now there were a lot of critical issues pending. As a president, as a OD was one year LGBT was one of them, and several other cases. So another day, when you do that, you demonstrate bias and certain affinity to the person. And hold on. And conventionally, I'm told at that time, Friday is Supreme Court. But surprisingly, out of the blue, she empaneled and they sat on that particular issue. It means you have a vested interest. In the eyes of the people, because we were dealing with a Supreme Court at the time, in the eyes of the people, you were seen to be a neutral. So at the end of the day, if you are being seen as a neutral, then you validate the opinions and the perception people have about you. You understand? So as a sensible person, you don't do some of these things. But they were blinded by their greed They were blinded by their unholy alliances and affinities.
A sensible person, don't you think it's too harsh?
Oh, no. Because a sensible person is being the same as being a reasonable person, assessing all the facts on the ground.
I would have preferred that you use
no, it's the same thing. It's addiction depending on the choice you make. But the argument is that exercising discretion without thinking. You see, that is how it is. So I think the Omoyene is just politics. They just want to drag the process and create a certain impression, say something ill has happened. But the question is, what is the ill? Pontificate it and let's know. Because if you're able to prove a point, I dare committee illegal, I would never support an illegal thing. So bring the argument out, let's just tease it. Now you who say indeed, process in course was actually wrong. You understand? So the whole thing, for instance, the Chief Justice was saying, the premier first year establishment now ruling in Sanka. That means a ruling bang. Because that Council of State and legal body. It's not an adjudicatory body. They exercise discretion by assessing the facts. Now you inform the president. Yeah. So where lies report bang? They are not supposed to give any report to anybody. Because it's a matter of exercising discretion. Looking at the face of the evidence that has been submitted.
But in assessing discretion, I believe they write reports. They will submit
definitely to the president. But that is not for your purview.
Okay.
And the mistake they made was that you see, the Constitution outline the process that has to be followed. You remove a justice, and as a chief justice, and as a justice of the Superior Court. What the Constitution failed to do is to establish a particular procedure that must be followed. So Abra was Akuffo chief justice, and me lawyer. But about 5 years ago, I sat somewhere and I told you, this thing is going to be a problem. So let us come out with the legislation. Ever give us the procedure. So you establish a procedure. Now this is what the Constitution says. But in implementing it, this is the process that we want to use. The president, Council of State, will establish a merita. The ruling must be submitted to this person, and it can be a subject of a judicial debate in court. But you don't do all these things. You were chief justice busy around going about. You didn't. That was how we knew to me. I said, just sit down
and think.
Act reasonably. And make sure, you look for all the loopholes. Because this thing, me who say a loophole long ago. Because the Constitution is very vague. Very vague. Article 146 is very vague. So you construct a legislation and come up with a procedure. That procedure becomes a law. You use to make sure that we implement that particular constitutional provision. Now, one year, ruling. It doesn't make sense, you understand? And I don't know, you are not the only person idea do. How many judges name for the Akroma? President Akuffo Addo, Justice Derry and Co. Abra announced the assembly to almost a year. They were suspended. Another day they were removed. So you are not the only person. You have suffered the fate of Article 146. The Nipa no suffer in the past. Most of the process talk on was part of it. She never questioned any of the process. And now the rules, you sell yourself out. So you lack integrity, you lack credibility. You are fighting because it is you. But your brothers yesterday suffered the same fate. What did you do? Nothing. NDC pencil, Professor Melson appointed Loretta Mensa. I was Raj. MPP, people within the MPP, one Richard Nyama and Akwayo, your friend say MP Bakumira Finiding, another prayer, submitted a petition to John Mahama. Say, woman, the Sikako or the hotel or Bob Mineka. Petition the same because among state is the same as one of the higher court we know. The same process was activated. The woman was removed. Nobody questioned the process. Even though Batamels appointed that woman, John Mahama, the same NDC government, got that person removed. The same principle. Don't you think the same principle should apply here? Yeah. So Afenyo Markin are just making noise, and that is what they do best. As you know, Parliament, they are not interested. It's just about making noise, creating unnecessary kind of way around themselves. Because all that he's there to do is to be seen talking, and that is what he's doing. So for me, I think that the Parliament, Speaker of Parliament will disregard the process. Baffoe will go through the vetting, and at the end of the day, if she get a pass, she becomes Chief Justice. The Akabia is just noise and unnecessary way. Nobody should take it serious.
Okay, I was going to answer my so our political highway. So, Paul Baffoe and Assisiano, a emotional NPP minority led by Afenyo Markin, a file against him, Speaker Bagbin, a questioner, and Assam Kitwaka. But I must some Japan cocotiza in some way at the MI. Ghana Politics Avenue. So and don't forget to click on the notification bell so that any updates be a bedrock piano. Also, unsa ebe to me, aka, medamase.